Welcome to Truth Telling with Elizabeth DiAlto, the podcast dedicated to focusing on the truth that's always evolving within us and around us, where we explore the potentiality of truth as a highly esteemed value, especially in the context of everything that falls under the topics of healing, growth, leadership, and creativity. If you're new to me, full expression is my jam. I'm the creator of a practice called Wild Soul Movement. My flagship year-long online women's circle is called Power. I run virtual new moon circles every month, weekend workshops all over the planet throughout the year, and I work with clients one-on-one. I also started doing stand-up comedy for fun in 2018. So this is a place where you can come with your multiple talents and passions to be encouraged, nourished, and cultivated. There's a lot of noise and ignorance in our current culture, and this show also aims to cut through that by exploring the truths of a diverse range of incredible voices. From authors, artists, creatives, and educators to activists, speakers, and those in various scientific and esoteric fields, our guests hail from cultures and countries all over the world. The main intention here is to contribute to creating a kinder, gentler, more curious, collaborative, reverent world where people respect each other's backgrounds, experiences, and truths, and they trust in themselves and in life and recognize that we need each other. We post a new interview every Monday, and if you want to keep up with the show notes and quotes from our guests, you can follow me on Instagram at Elizabeth DiAlto. A few disclaimers. No episode of the show is meant for everyone, and every episode is meant for whoever needs it on the right day at the right time. Not all guest views will reflect my own, and that's intentional. We don't learn, grow, heal, or improve by staying in our comfortable bubbles with all of our people who look, think, or live exactly how we do. If you love what you hear and find it useful and inspiring, the best way to show your appreciation is to share the episode, subscribe to the show, and leave us a rating or review wherever you listen in from. Thank you so much for being here, and here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 320 of Truth Telling with Elizabeth DiAlto. Don't mind my voice today. I have been fulfilling all of the Akashic Records readings, which was almost 50 readings after I did my birthday sale in the middle of September. So my voice is a little out of it today, but I'm excited to dig into the podcast episode with return guest Shanda Catrice. This is an exciting one, y'all. You know how much I love a good stirring of the pot, and that is specifically what Shanda came back to do with me today. We're digging into a topic that some folks will feel really defensive and protective of, the law of attraction. So as always, I invite you to just stay curious and stay open as you listen. Shanda's big truth in this episode was that you don't always have to know the answer. And from there, we got into why it's important to take breaks from your personality, how everything in the universe serves a purpose, because if it didn't, it wouldn't exist, and how spirituality is a technology. We dug into some etymology, the context of words and how they're used, specifically the word destiny, and we also talked about surrender, freedom, change, and resistance. Then we spent a good chunk of time on the juicy unpacking of how the law of attraction is not a substantial universal law, the impact your destiny has on your ability to manifest things, cognitive dissonance, metaphysics, religious science, emotions, and beliefs. So my guess is we're going to get a lot of notes about this one, so find me on Instagram at Elizabeth DiAlto. You can email us at hello@wildsoulmovement.com. Share the episode. Let us know what you think. And as well, I did just open up the Akashic Records spaces in the month of November. So if you've been wanting to book an Akashic Records reading, November is actually the last month in 2019. I will be offering readings. I will not do that in the month of December because we'll have our Journey into the Wild Soul podcast series going, which is our annual end of the year way to wrap up a year. And this year, we're wrapping up a whole decade, y'all. So this is going to be a supercharged, juicy journey into the wild soul this year. If you want to book an Akashic Records readings in the remaining spots left for 2019, head over to wildsoulmovement.com/Akashic. And if you want to check out the show notes, find Shanda, links to anything that we talked about here in this episode today, go over to untameyourself.com/320. All right, let's get into the show. Shanda, you're back.
Hi, I'm back.
I am particularly excited. So you and I have this thing in common where I think you probably more than I do actually identify as a contrarian. You were just saying something about that before we hit record. I love stirring the pot though.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, maybe what have we not thought about? What angle? Share the controversial opinion. Like, I love it. So, everyone, if you haven't heard Shanda's previous episode, we recorded, we'll put a link to it in the show notes. We talked a lot about dating on that one. That's where that conversation
Oh
went.
yeah, yeah.
But this one, here's specifically why I had invited Shanda back. By the time this goes up, it'll be like 2 months ago that I made a post on Instagram that said, stop asking people what they did to attract things. And then the caption said, some of you think the law of attraction is the only governing law of the universe, and it shows. And Shanda was like, actually, the law of attraction isn't even real.
Yeah.
And then we got in the DMs and I was like, tell me more. And it made so much sense because where I had a little distortion, and in a moment, I'm just going to ask Shanda to be like, tell us everything after the first question. I want to know what big truth is having an impact on your life right now. But
Okay.
just for the context for the people listening, for me, I've studied a lot of this stuff, a lot of the similar stuff that Shanda had shared with me. But what I wasn't seeing was I thought a lot of people were taking like ancient manifestation teachings, which for the most part exist in like every religion, every faith, every tradition. It's there. It's just part of everything. I thought people were just distorting those and turning it into the law of attraction. But what Shanda explained to me was that no, actually the law of attraction was literally invented at a certain point in history,
Yes.
mostly by a certain group of people to serve themselves. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But for now, how's your body today? How you feeling in your skin?
I'm feeling good in my skin. It's this year. I am approaching mid 30s. I mean, not 30s, 40s, and so that's interesting to see the changes in my body and like just every day I'm amazed. Like, whoa, okay, so
Yes.
this is happening now.
I literally just turned 36 and I'm having that experience. So I imagine, is this just the rest
Oh,
of our lives?
well, wait in 10 years
I bet.
and see what that is. That is.
And then what's a truth that's having a big impact on your life right now?
I think the truth for me right now is that you don't have to always have the answer,
Mm,
and pretty much you don't have to always know the answer, and that is okay. And it's okay to just be in your life. And what I mean
mm,
by answer, I don't mean the answer to a solution or problem. I mean the answer to your life
mm.
and where you're going and your purpose and your path. You don't have to always have it. And I've been like a pretty strict type A personality most of my life. So for me, I always have goals. I always have a focus. I always have a target. I'm always hitting that target, hitting the mark. I'm planning out my life 5 years ahead of time. And this last year is the first time ever in existence of being Shanda that it's just kind of like day by day, going with the
Mm.
flow, seeing what life is. And that is so uncomfortable, but also beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with how both it is so uncomfortable, so beautiful. I've been living that way for a while. I was never one for like big visions. When people are like, what's your 5-year plan? I'm like, I could
Yeah,
tell you
no,
the next
that
3 months look like.
I all big vision. Like that's how I lived.
Really?
Yeah. My most of That's how I created everything in my life. Like this really gigantic visions.
See, I'm getting into it now. I'm like, okay, I could see a couple of years out now, but I really only just started doing that recently. And then there was like the shadow side of like flying by the seat of my pants and then living in a place of surrender and trust. I think those things exist on a
Hmm.
spectrum, but they're different things.
But yeah, I think it's okay. I think when we were talking about dating, I was saying I felt the healing answer to everything is doing um, counter to what you usually do.
Mhm.
So I do feel like every once in a while you should take a break and actually act outside of your personality and act outside
Yes.
of what you should
Yes.
do. I don't mean be reckless, but do like something that you would not normally do. And then like if you are a person who normally doesn't have a big vision, what is it like to live for the next 3 months in big vision? And if
Yeah.
I'm a person that, is like type A, goal oriented, what is it like to live the next 90 days by intuition, you know, and unknown? And you could see a lot of stuff happen in your life when you kind of step, like always stepping outside and checking in with yourself and say, okay, it's time to kind of shake things up and go outside of what I normally do.
Yeah. I love this. So something that relates to what we'll be talking about, because I feel like
Hmm.
essentially we're just deconstructing common spiritual concepts
Hmm.
that people love, people really cling to. I've been I had it was my birthday recently at the time that we're recording this, and I had an astrology reading. Friend had recommended this person. It was like this random Scottish man.
Hmm.
And it was cool because that morning, it was actually the day, 2 days after my birthday. And I had been out late dancing the night before. So we were on Skype and I just didn't turn on the video because I was laying in bed. I had
Hmm.
no interest in like getting up and making myself presentable. And it was almost like this extra layer of, because he couldn't see me, he was even more direct or something because he couldn't like see any of my reactions or
Yeah.
responses. And this man just like shot me straight for 30 minutes. And there were some things that he said that resonated and some that didn't. And I was like, I dig astrology, I dig human design, Enneagram, all these things. But I also think we all, through our own free will, have the ability to transcend our signs, our types, our all that stuff.
Well, it depends. I don't think we have the ability to transcend some things. Like I do feel like in a lot of traditional African spirituality, you have destiny that it's not to you can't transcend it. I do think most people on the planet, no matter what nationality or race or ethnicity, I think you've come here for a particular reason or assignment or mission, and I don't think you can transcend that. I think you can slow it down or speed it up. I think you can, go really, you can resist it so much. It's like a magnet. A magnet is always pulling, and you can really resist a magnet and pull against it. And it can pull you really slow to the point where it seems like it's not pulling you at all. Or
Mhm.
you can release into the flow like a river and snap to the magnet. And I do feel like, you know, universe is, someone once told me everything on the universe, everything in the universe serves a purpose because the universe is perfect. And if it did not serve a purpose, it would not exist. So that means that, and people have a hard time with that concept a lot because they
Yeah.
think you're saying like, you know, um, that the person who should not be named that everyone, that most people don't like as a president, they will say, "Oh no, that's not. He shouldn't be president. That's not. It's not. That's not on purpose." But you're, I'm saying purpose as a function
Mhm, mhm.
and not necessarily as meaningful, but as utilitarian. So everything in this entire universe has a utilitarian purpose, function, use, or would not exist because the universe is perfect. And when things no longer serve a use, they don't exist. And I think, that go away from this planet.
Yeah.
So,
Um, okay, so what I mean by transcend our type is basically like exactly what you were saying earlier. Just
yeah.
like take a break from it, right? I'm a Virgo. There are qualities to Virgos. I could take a break from those qualities and try out something else. You know what I mean? I don't have to be like married to it and putting myself in this box of being like, well, this is just the way I am. And then, of course, there are things that will come
But see,
more naturally and easily at times.
even with that, people are approaching it the wrong way. Like the astrology is not here for you to have a type and say, I'm a Virgo and I'm always strict, da da da, or
Hmm.
like I'm a Gemini and I'm always gonna, be moody. No, that's
Hmm.
not what it's saying. It is saying that this is some traits that I have come to view the world from this perspective. And if I study this and go deep into it, I will understand what are the motivation behind all of my decisions and
Hmm.
how I go through life. And I think that when you work in that way, then it's nothing to transcend. It is a self-discovery tool. It's not a tool to say I have these certain bad traits or good traits. It is a saying that this is the kind of karmic things I've come archetype I've come to live under. And when I look at this archetype, what are the traits that, and I'm under this archetype because this is the archetype that will help best me live, me best live out my destiny or my purpose. So if I am a Gemini, best believe that my purpose will have something to do with communication,
Mm-hmm.
whether I can see that or not. And so, because if you're the universe, God at all, whoever, and you're sending people down here to do certain things, you will imbue them with certain gifts to get the assignment done. And what we've taken it now to be a trend and to be like traits and fun, but it really is, this is your tools. These are the things that it is a map. It is your blueprint and your map to help you get your mission and destiny fulfilled. And it's going to also tell you what your blind spots and weaknesses are. And in African, spirituality, they call those like sometimes taboos. So these are, if I'm under the sign Gemini, then these are the things that may be my weaknesses that I have to watch out for, that are my blind spots. And then these are some people, these opposing signs that will make things difficult for me. And these are people who will be allies for me to help me get things done, and they fit well with me. And every system pretty much is that. It's just, I feel like they're different languages. And if you speak astrology, or you speak enneagram, or you speak numerology as a language, whichever one you understand the best as a language is the one for you. So maybe, I do numerology and I see things through numerology. So
Mm-hmm.
that's more like I speak numerology, that's my language. And that helps me understand myself, because everything is just about understanding the self, understanding who you are so you can fulfill this mission, purpose, destiny, or whatever. I'm always about this now. People get so hung up on words, fill in the blank, whatever whatever word you like to use. I said purpose, destiny, mission,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
assignment, whatever. All the same kind of vibration.
Yeah, I love that. I love the word assignment. That always to me feels like the least heavy and daunting of them all. Like
Hmm.
it's almost like it's just an assignment. I could do this. Sometimes that's the energy I want. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a destiny.
Oh yeah, I'm
So
about destiny now though.
you're in the
Well,
destiny phrase
but
right now?
well, it's more about, like I said, that's what African spirituality, they is destiny. I mean, it's very cut clear and defined. It is your destiny, and that's, and then when you start to go in understanding words and even etymology, and just going into context of words and how they're used, and you'll get a different experience of the word. Because like destiny, people think that means fate.
Mm-hmm.
It means, like, for me, divine purpose. So you have this divine purpose, like something that was divined from the higher power, God or source or whatever you call the higher power. And that's why I like destiny, because it's like it takes it up a notch. Is saying, this is your divine reason for being on the planet, Elizabeth. Should you choose to accept this mission and
Should you
fulfill it?
choose to accept it?
Because you have free will. You can
Yes.
not do it. Yeah. And then that's where you get that concept of reincarnation. You cannot do it. But then at some point on a thousandth life, you're going to do it,
You can keep free willing your way out of it, but you're gonna just
But
keep coming
eventually,
back.
and especially you saying about surrender, at some point, like the most freedom in the world is in surrender. Like for instance, like like say if someone's incarcerated for life,
Mm.
and you may think, oh my god, that's just like the worst fate someone could have. But the resistance of that is the worst fate. The moment you let go, and I think that's the same thing as us living in America with certain, rules and regulations, and being, in certain ethnicities and just everything. So I see that with destiny too. Like the moment you just surrender and accept is freedom. It's total freedom.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The acceptance part. It just automatically always feels more spacious, even like in my body.
Hmm.
rather than the tension I feel when I'm not accepting something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you can change it, if you could change things, change them. But a lot of things that we were resisting, most change anyway. The things that because we usually don't resist things we can't change because we know
Right.
we'll change them. You
Right.
know, we're like, yeah, whatever, I'll change that.
Yeah.
It's just those other things.
We usually don't resist things we can't change. I'm writing this down. I like this sentence. Okay, let's get into the law of attraction.
Yes, law of attraction.
Basically, I just want to be like, tell us why it's not a thing, and you could just let it rip. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
so, I want to preface it to say like I'm always the thing. Like it was some song a long time ago, like some rap song, and it was like, you do you, and I'm gonna do me. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel that way with the law of attraction. Like you do you. If it works for you, it works for you. This is, you know, exit the conversation now. But if there is something that you feel that is attracting you to this information, this conversation around law of attraction not being a real thing, and or not being a substantial law, universal law, because I think that everything exists as a real thing the
Mm,
moment it exists, but being a law that is in alignment with God, Creator, Source, Universe, etc. And I want to just go into like looking at who does this work for? Like who does the law of attraction work for? And primarily it works for, first world countries and within first world, developed countries. And within those countries, it works for the majority, the dominant, race. So if this law does not work for someone in a third world country, if this law didn't even work for a black person in 1960 or 1900, because the law of attraction first ever was written in the late 1800s, and then they started making a lot of books in the early 1900s. And you got to think about in 1900, women and black people, it was no law of attraction on the planet that could get you rights, you know? So the law of attraction just now only exists for people in the year 2000. So you think about that. Like, so if I was a woman, I'm not in 1900. I'm not voting. I can law of attraction that I can take every woman on the planet in law of attraction, and I'm not voting. If I'm a black person, black people didn't really get to vote until like the 60s
mm-hmm.
because of Jim Crow. So there are so many different things that a lot of people, and people of all races have always been using spirituality and ancient practices, so that didn't work then, it doesn't even sometimes work now. So some people that could be in different countries, would this really work for them? And one of my virtual mentors is Carolyn Mace, and she says that in order for something to be a universal law, it has to, when we talk about this, it has to apply to everything, to the all. She was like, it has to apply to the all, because on this planet Earth, as we know right now, the law of gravity applies to me, it applies to a dog, a cat, it applies to a tree, it applies to a rock, it applies to a table. It applies to someone in Africa, in Cambodia, in India, in the UK, it applies to someone in America. It applies to astronauts as they leave Earth to go out to outer space. That is a universal law. That is a law. If I talk about the law of attraction, like I told you, my cat can't law of attract anything. My cat is not going to use the law of attraction. And there is no deity, no God, no religious system that does not apply to every living being and inanimate object on this planet. It's not just something that is for humans. And then you have to look at, so this law does not apply to everything. This law only started to exist in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And I'm just offering people to do the research. So I know the names, I know the books, I know the names. I'm not going to do that because I feel like Knowledge, when it's experiential, firsthand, that will unlock paradigms. When I
Mhm.
tell you something, you resist it because of cognitive dissonance. When you can research something yourself and have an awareness and epiphany and this awakening, then it gets in. So if people are open to that, they can research these things. I'm giving you the clues to research them.
Mhm.
And in the 1900s at the time, and the only book I'll mention is the Napoleon Hill book, Think and Grow Rich. So in the 1900s, at that time, before that book was made, it was a trend pretty much now. Like how you see that you have a lot of this coaching trend came up, and everyone's was teaching people how to be a business coach or how to make money in coaching. And so, pretty much, think about that trend now. It was a similar trend happening in the 1900s, and that trend was with religious science and law of attraction and metaphysics. And they were all written by, white men. And not saying it can't be written by white men, but you have to use the context. The average white male during that time, the mindset they had, whether intentionally or unintentionally, was not necessarily a collective, inclusive mindset. It was a very skewed mindset and a very oppressive mindset against women and people of other ethnicities until all these revolutions started to happen. And I think during those revolutions, a lot of people had changes of mind. Like right now, we have a lot of revolutions happening and people having changes of mind. But prior to these revolutions, what incites change of mind? And you have to think about, I had like I wrote in my notes that these are things that affect manifestation. You have collective consciousness. You can never ever 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 manifest against collective consciousness. You just can't. It's not going to happen. Um, it is what it is. That's why when civil rights movement happened, and that's why when women had the right to vote, all those revolutions, and even with Harvey Milk, is because they hit critical mass. They hit this tipping point where you had collective consciousness now. So that is the shift of collective consciousness. Now, this old paradigm will break because there is a new paradigm
Mhm.
where enough people are thinking a thing to make it solid and real. Then you have what I was saying before, your destiny. No human being, and this is going to be a hard pill to swallow, and some people will reject it, but nobody can manifest anything outside of their destiny. And what I mean by that, for instance, is if it's your destiny to be a mother, you'll be a mother. If it's not your destiny to be a mother, there is nothing in no science, nothing in the world that will allow you to be a mother. But if it's your destiny to be a mother, when you align with destiny, then it's once again surrendering. It doesn't mean that it's your destiny mother. Okay, so I'm going to go get these in vitro shots. I'm going to get a surrogate in that because I want to have biological child. It may be your destiny to be a mother and adopt. It may be your destiny to be a mother and foster. It may be your destiny to be a mother, and that means being a mother figure in a community. And so you have to say, yes, I aligning with this destiny. I can feel it inside that this is my destiny to be a mother. And then I just align with that and I let go and I let it unfold and I let God, universe, at all bring into me the experience I am supposed to have.
Mhm.
And then you have your higher self manifestation. So a lot of people don't know that your higher self also is manifesting the same time you're manifesting. And the higher self cares about, again, your destiny. It doesn't care about anything else. So sometimes you want to go here, and your higher self is saying, we're going to go here, and we're going to go here. So you'll never out manifest your higher self. And then you have emotions and your beliefs. So beliefs is last. Beliefs, that thinking and it'll happen and thoughts of things, not true. It, somewhat true. But belief is the lowest manifestation tool. You will manifest faster with emotion than anything else, whether you have a belief about it or not. The belief is, and because beliefs are one, difficult to change because they're programmed, you're indoctrinated into a lot of beliefs just by being in America, being in your family. They're very difficult to change, and most of the time you don't know what they are unless you've done a psychedelic or something. I mean, there's no way of knowing, or unless you're a Jungian analyst and you've done
Hmm.
years of
Hypnotherapy.
subconscious and years of subconscious work.
Yeah.
So most people, yeah, won't know unless because most people can't actively access their subconscious mind. So you don't really know what your beliefs are, and they're mostly hard to change. And the only way you could change your belief is you have to have this major catastrophic event that shifts a paradigm. And that sometimes people have a spontaneous spiritual awakening. Sometimes people have a tragic illness. Some people have a tragic accident. Some people have tragedy in their life where they lose a loved one. Some people move to a new city, a new country, and then the whole paradigm is shifted because everything in that city is different. Then at that moment, you can change a belief. But for the most part, you have the beliefs you have. Unless I mean, because they're a part of your community, and that's why you see what's happening in the world right now. It's so hard to change things because these are beliefs that are hundreds of years old that are passed down through many generations. They're not just going to disappear, and then that goes back to collective consciousness again.
Hmm.
So the easiest way to create things in your life is to get busy understanding who you are, your mission, assignment, purpose, destiny, and then just aligning with that, aligning with that. And then, we are, kind of like, made in the image of God or many gods, or we have, an essence that we can make some things happen. So it's almost what I call like a magic trick. We can make some things happen and then people get fooled and say, "Well, then the law of attraction must work. I made this happen." Well, you're magical. You came here like that. But I always say this. This is a trick. If you want to really see if a law of attraction works for anybody, everyone has a thing that is a thorn in their side. Everyone has a thing that keeps happening that they don't want to happen. Everyone has this thing that they want to happen that never happens. I want you to use the law of attraction on that. If you are successful in doing that, then I may take back what I say. But till to this day, I have done this with everyone, and I can't. And I'm I'm a life coach, so I gotta sit with you, and I gotta intuitively read you and see what that thing is, because some people will say what the thing is that's not the thing.
Hmm.
When I see what your thing is, you're a black or you can't seem to master law of attraction won't work on that. There's only one thing will work on that, and that's alignment with destiny. Law of attraction, so-called law of attraction, will get you a cup of coffee in a parking space. you know, Maybe a raise, but it won't get you the thing that is pulling at your heart and soul. It will not. It will not.
I'm cracking up that you said a cup of coffee in a parking space because I remember back in it was 2006, I think, is when The Secret came out, right?
Hmm.
And this wave of the law of attraction was really, really popularized by the book The Secret.
It
Obviously, it
was
predated that, but I think Rhonda Byrne was that the person who
Rhonda
pulled it all
Byrne.
together,
Yeah,
made the movie, put together the little book. I
yeah.
remember my roommate. I was living in Bethesda, Maryland, and my roommate we started using secret like it was a verb. I'm going to secret myself or whatever. Like, I got to secret this. Like, I look back on it now and I'm like, oh, I was in my 20s. I'm like patting my former self on the head. Like, that was cute. But then you see it, right? Because, like, confirmation bias is a thing too, right? Like, as soon
Hmm.
as something is in your conscious awareness, you will naturally start to notice it. Whereas if you weren't focused or paying attention to that before, you wouldn't, right? Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
suddenly I'm excited about having a Mini Cooper, I'm going to see them all over the road. Whereas if I was not thinking anything about Mini Coopers before, I just wouldn't have, they were there and I just wasn't noticing them, right? So it was, I do think about that too, how, we can talk ourselves into or out of
And you can
anything.
talk yourself into and out of everything could be a sign. And I'll use an example of what I feel like is a verifiable sign. And to me, they always say like, test the spirit.
Hmm.
You could test synchronicity too. You can say, "Oh, I had a synchronicity." For me, I used to do this. I said, "Hey, one time synchronicity, no." I would tell God, universe, you got to get me 3 times.
Yeah.
Synchronicity 3 times with me, and then I'll believe this is a sign.
Hmm.
And So once I was asking for this sign, just recently, and I was like, give me a sign to move forward that I would understand, and I just let it go. And so I was going to say this to the subject years ago, when before I moved to California, I was thinking about leaving the government and becoming a filmmaker and artist and just living my dream and all these things. And when I was in Starbucks one day, I would go to Starbucks and I would always like journal my ideas. And so one time in Starbucks, I heard this song and I loved it. It was so beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, this song is really inspiring me. I can do it. And so then as I kept trying to move my life to California and follow this dream, European artist is not very popular. So, still it's just like I would hear it. And so that all that to say is that I was looking at some corny, hokey Netflix binge watching some crazy, obscure Netflix show that's so corny and hokey. And in the middle of some scene that was not even like romantic or anything, they played that song played. And I said, now that is a sign. Because you see how it was so particular to me, and it was
Hmm.
something that was
Hmm.
so major in my life almost 10 years ago. That is synchronicity. It should be huge. It should be something that unique to you, not everywhere I go,
Yes,
because
yes,
I'm thinking
yes.
about a red Prius.
Right, like listen, I love angel numbers, but if I'm out there on the highway looking at every friggin' license plate, this is a law of probability. I'm
Yeah,
gonna see lots of angel
yes.
numbers, you know? And listen, I still get delighted. I could still
And you can still get
let
delighted. You can still
something.
get delighted.
We're meaning making machines. I could let something fill me with great joy regardless of how potent of a sign it actually is.
Mhm. And I usually say, let the sign be the sign. Like, don't say, if it's a sign I want to see, I want to see this rare Prius on the corner at 7 p.m. Like, don't do that. Like, let a
Don't
sign
micromanage the universe.
be a sign because that's when it will shock you and shake you
Yeah,
up. And that's
yeah.
when you will recognize it. And, I do feel like with the law of attraction, for me overall, spiritually, what I've come to in my life right now is what is it based? Is it based in any indigenous ancient
Mhm.
belief or spiritual tradition? And if it is not, to me, it doesn't hold weight. I do feel like me personally, I feel like everyone on this planet, spirituality is technology. And every person through different DNA, different ethnicities and races, there is spiritual technology that your ancestors used for your particular race and ethnicity that is meant for you to use. And right now, there's a lot of appropriation, there's a lot of people lost, a lot of people just doing what's trendy, but you will have the best manifesting results when you start to practice the medicine and traditions of your lineage. Everyone will. You will have the best results. I've had the best manifestation results when I practice my lineage spiritual traditions. Better than any secret book. Better than you know. And let me tell you, I always tell people this story too. I had this boss, and hopefully she never sees this, but she's crazy as hell. And I used to live in Oakland, and she was the craziest hell boss. And she was CEO. She's the founder of this nonprofit. And she will always say, "Oh, we don't have any money. 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 We don't have any money." And she will, like let her hair, like put her head on the desk and just cry and be up at night. We don't have any money. We don't have any money. We don't have any money. We're gonna go out of business. We're gonna go out of business. We don't have any money. We don't have any money. And she would say this all constantly talking about no money, no money, no money, no money. I've watched this woman pull in multi-year, like multi-million dollar funding contracts. And that was when I first started to be aware of you don't really necessarily manifest based on a belief.
Right, because she was saying that over and over again, and the opposite result was happening.
Yes.
That in and of
Every
itself
time.
right there is a direct violation of what the law of attraction teaches.
Yes, every time. And then people may want to dissect this. Oh, well, she did this, but it's like why you have to think about why are you defending
Mhm.
this law so much? Is it cognitive dissonance? Why are you even defending something that oppressor used to oppress people. Like, why are you defending works of oppressors instead of works of ancient teachers and healers? If a billionaire, like right now, if a billionaire came out with a book, like for example, it said so and so hour work week, or if a multimillionaire came out with a book that said so and so hour work week, and we all took that book and made it a gospel, what does this person have other than money and idea, or a good idea, or an opinion that they turned into a big idea and used marketing in a big business that had a big following? This is what you got to look at with these things. Before 1900, where were they? Because even ancient indigenous traditions, there are shamanistic traditions that you will never know the details of because that's not your lineage, but
Mhm.
they are not so hidden that you're not aware that that's a shaman. There is nothing on the planet so hidden that you're not aware that it exists. Now, you may not be privy to all the details and secrets if you're not in that tradition, but you're pretty aware that that exists. You're pretty aware, from Mayans, Aztecs to all the way to Kemet or Egypt, you were aware that these people use certain technologies. We don't really know what they were, all the details, but we were aware they used certain spiritual technologies in their life. That wasn't such a secret. So then why is it that if this is such a valid law, it only existed starting in, 1900s
Yeah.
or late 1800s?
And I mean, you brought up Think and Grow Rich earlier, which, when you were talking about you can't manifest, did you say you can't manifest, first of all, against your destiny or your higher self?
Yes. You
Okay.
can't manifest against your destiny or your higher self.
And because your higher self is always manifesting towards your destiny. So,
Always.
um, there are some things I relate to it often as divine protection, but I'm seeing it in this context as well. I tried to read that damn Think and Grow Rich book probably 3 to 5
Mm.
times at various points in my life over, like, I don't know, the last 15 years. I could never finish it. Finally, I don't remember how I came to know that the guy who wrote it, Napoleon Hill, essentially died broke. Like, I think it was something like every business he ever started ended up failing at some point, some
Yeah.
way. And to me, I was like, why on earth would I, like, you just use the word gospel. Why would I make something a gospel if, like, the proof is, like, the person who wrote it,
Yeah.
who, like, I can never say this word, the proselytized,
Proselytize or something? Yeah, something like that.
something like
I
that,
don't know if I said it even better, but
right? But
but
this word, the thing, the concepts, how does that person die broke and with all these failed businesses? Like, what the hell's going,
well,
like,
because he
it's
was
a
a
red
master
flag.
marketer and he
Right.
made money off of teaching people how to use a system to make money. And this is where, you have to just do the research. Just look up some stuff and see where you land on it.
Yeah.
And see what it opens your mind to. Because for me, I feel like there is no there God is not mentioned in the law of attraction at all. God is not mentioned. Name one religion or spiritual tradition or indigenous practice where God is not mentioned. It's not one. From Orthodox religion to ancient tradition, there is nothing that omits God and spirituality. And for something to be a universal law and not mention God is very suspect to me. And I feel like if you are a spiritual person, but I feel like you have to think about, I'll put this out there, could this even be a tool to keep people in a matrix? A tool to keep people's mind programmed, a tool to keep people locked into the three base chakras of materialism. because law of attraction really activates the base chakras. So that if you stay locked in and trapped at the base chakras, you will never evolve or grow spiritually because you will never go towards the heart. Because the first thing law of attraction always says, you can't manifest for anybody. So when you go to heart and start thinking about other people, it's like, well, F it, because I can't really manifest for them anyway. So I might as well go back to one, two, three, sex, vanity, power, money. Those are the base chakras. And what are the main things everyone wants to manifest with the law of attraction? What are the main things people try to manifest with the law of attraction? The same things I just said, which
Money,
are
love,
the
and stuff.
which is the first three chakras. So
Hmm.
could it be this is a tool to keep you locked and invested into the matrix, invested into consumerism, invested into materialism, invested into staying at your three base chakras, being a base human and not evolving.
Mm.
And
It makes a lot of sense.
yeah, because when you don't care about manifesting things, you start to question, why am I here?
Hmm.
And when you question, why am I here? You will end up at destiny.
So, Shanda, there was a point that I know you wanted to make about the Matrix, using like something from the movie, but that really relates into this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Because I love the movie. So, and I use a lot. I think that we are really living in a matrix. And I do think there are clues to our existence in that movie, as many as you can get from it. But one of the things I love that Neo says is that there are rules that can be bent and rules that can be broken. And I feel like that is where people get tripped up on the law of attraction, because what they're reading as the rules of engagement of this paradigm and this universe and this matrix is really that. Like, you can break some things, you can bend some things,
Hmm.
because you have this energy and you have what they call in African tradition ashe. So you already have this kind of power. Rules can be bent, rules can be broken. And that is what I do think people have distorted, like you said, and turned that into more of the law of attraction.
Mm, cool. Thank you for that. I People who listen have probably heard me mention. So there is an author, and I think she would fall into, like, I've referred to her before as a metaphysician, Florence Scovel Shinn. Have you ever heard of her
Hmm.
stuff?
Hmm.
But and her books are all about God, though. Like, she's pulling out Bible verses. She's telling you, like, this is what we're connecting in with here, not necessarily in the context of Christianity, though she's often quoting Jesus and things like this. And one of my favorite, I don't know if she offered it as a mantra, if it was just a line in one of her books, was, I only desire that which the divine desires through me. And I love that because I was like,
And I
oh,
love that too, because it's different. So, like, here I'm offering just two things. I say, like, one, why would you follow anything that you could easily say the originators and fathers of the patriarchy and systemic racism created?
right.
That already will give me cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Like, I would feel some type of way about that.
Hmm.
And then, go back to your own ancestral medicine,
Hmm.
particularly in America. I don't think anybody should be doing anything 80% that's not their ancestral medicine, and in their own lineage based spirituality. And what I mean lineage, because sometimes it's not going to be lineage because you may not know that lineage, but lineage like ethnicity, or or nationality. Well, not nationality, but ethnicity. So I feel like if you start to do that, and this is going to be something that I know a lot of people are not going to like when I say this, they're not going to like it. But if you're doing yoga, and yoga is great, but if you do yoga and yoga is your 90% or 80%, if you do yoga 7 days a week or 5 days a week, and you don't do it based out of who you are not practicing your spiritual technology or
Mm.
your ethnicity, unless you are Indian or anywhere that tradition comes out of. So I don't want to generalize, but wherever that tradition comes out of. So, and it's okay to use these tools as a complement to
Mm,
your base spirituality because all the tools are here for us. It is okay. I hurt my knee a while back and I did yoga and it helped it. But I'm never doing someone else's spiritual technology more than my own.
mm,
It's not going to be the base. If I'm doing yoga 7 days a week, then that means that twice I do my own spirituality. I got to do my thing more than someone else's. And if everyone did that, what you would truly find in this world is that everyone would find themselves.
hmm.
Everyone's lost. I mean, not everyone, but most people are lost.
A lot of people are
A
lost.
lot of people are lost. And if you did that, you would find yourself. And you would not seek, you would not be burning sage and Palo Santo if you're not Native American or you're not you're not, any ethnicity that comes out of the Amazon.
Hmm.
you know, you would not be burning that more than your own herbs from your own lineage. And I'm saying again, like it's not saying to not do these things, but it's saying ask yourself, why am I hijacking someone else's spiritual technology and using it when I have my own? You're discounting all of those bodies and ancestors and people before you that had the knowledge of practices and medicines
Hmm.
that really help your spiritual technology. And honestly, if you want to, get down to even science, this is another a belief a lot of people may not be fond of, but I do think spiritual technology is real because I do know myself. I talk about this with my friends, my family members. As an African American or someone of African descent, I am not going to use the same medications. Traditional conventional medications will not work the same on me as it will someone of another ethnicity or
Mm.
race. And you got to think, if that's conventional medicine, then why would spiritual medicine not be the same? Oprah had this show on the other day. It's called Black Women Own, and they had this clip I saw, and she was talking about obesity in the Black community, and they've had this study that's come out that Black people's metabolisms work who are under trauma and stress work differently than Caucasian people. So when you're giving them a diet and they're eating food in a diet and even exercise of someone that is Caucasian, it will not work. And this is what I'm saying. So this is conventional. This is science. If science don't work the same for every race, why would spiritual technology work? Spiritual medicine, spiritual science work the same? And that's why you have all these different higher sciences.
Yeah.
Look at every traditional or just every religion, major religion that we know. It has a higher science. It has a kind of occultist science. You have Sufism and Kabbalah and religious science, metaphysics. You have these. Every main system has its kind of higher occult,
Mystical version.
mystical version of that. That is the language again for those people to understand, to that works best for them.
Listen, I can really, really relate to what you're saying, and because this has totally been my path. And so I just want to share this for anyone listening. If
Mhm,
you're having some resistance to this, if you love a practice, Shanda's not telling you to stop doing it, right? Like, I want you to really hear what she's saying here. She's not saying don't do it, don't throw away your yoga or your this or your that or your whatever. Some of you have been initiated or certified or in certain things, and you've put in all these hours and you feel really close to these things. I get that, and she's not asking you to toss things away. But it is an interesting hypothesis and an experiment to go, what is in my lineage? What is the practice of the people that I come from? And I understand that could be confusing for folks because I encounter a lot of people in my audience who weren't raised with any kind of spirituality. I was raised Catholic. And all my
mhm,
lineage, Italian, Puerto Rican, Hispanic,
mhm,
like that is all Christian, if not Catholic, in the history of my family, right? So, have I discovered truths through yoga and practices that have resonated for me that I've gotten a lot out of? Yes, of course. Other traditions, ancient practices, and wisdoms, yes, yes, yes. But and I was drawn, so like you're saying, your higher self is always manifesting. and in your destiny. Like you're always these things like magnets. You used magnet in a different way earlier, but like to me, those things feel like magnets because in this lifetime anyway, I couldn't stay away from Jesus if I tried.
Yeah.
And I did.
But let me pause you for a second, just for a second. So when I say this, I'm not talking about any organized religion.
No, no, no. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not in organized
yeah. So
religion
I'm
now.
talking, but I'm talking about when I say your lineage, I am not. I'm talking about what predates Catholicism.
Hmm.
So if you are Celtic, Druids, Celtics,
Yep.
Vikings, Norse, Roma, like um, Russian shamans, this like the different traditions, Mayans, Aztecs. I am talking about that technology.
Yeah.
So is your lineage? And a lot of people have done this DNA test now, so you kind of know. But if you don't have to even do a DNA test to know, you can even sit and ask for these ancestors to come and make themselves known to you, or listen to yourself and see, where do I feel that I am from. Before I did a DNA test, I did that, and I found out where I was from, and when I took a DNA test, it was exactly everywhere I thought. Everywhere everywhere the ancestor had already came and communicated with me. It
Hmm.
was exactly those places. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, if it is Nordic, I studied a little bit of like vulvas from Norse tradition. They were like one of the very few white shamans, and they were women, and they went to these graves where they were, and they dug these women up, and they found them still buried with these staffs, these magical staffs that they would walk around with. That medicine, if that is your lineage, those unforgotten like ancestors are waiting on you to revive them, ignite them.
Hmm.
And the same thing for me being African American. Like I have to, through slavery was taken from my place of origin. So then there's a journey of me having to go back, and in West Africa is called Sankofa. It's like returning back, going to get it, going to fetch it, going to get what was lost. So a lot of people in America are doing this journey now to go get what was lost. And I think that a lot of African people of African descent are going to get what's lost, but I don't think it has to be just people of African descent. I am saying if everyone goes and get what was lost, even some of the herbal traditions that your grandma did,
Hmm.
you know, this is this is your medicine. These are the things that are going to empower you. These are the things that are going to help you manifest. These are the things that are going to help you find your destiny and help you find yourself. And like you were saying earlier, then fold back in my yoga. you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
then fold back. But I have a feeling that if you actually really went into these practices deep, you would naturally stop doing other people's stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you just because you will find the thing that feeds you. Because if you look in every tradition has a mind, body, spirit technology. Every tradition. It's just that yoga was appropriated. That's just what it was, and it's commercialized. So then it became the most popular thing. But if you look into like there are different African movement practices that they did, even in Egypt, there's Kemetic yoga that was done. Every ethnicity has an ancient movement practice that they did, and you can pick that up if you really want to do movement. Mind, body, spirit. Every single ethnicity had technology for that.
Yeah. And even music, right? So
And even music, yeah.
for me, I mean, for many years, like the craving, when I would hear Latin music, something in me just ached to be able to move to and with that music, right? Like something
Mhm,
in me. And when I finally started learning how to dance in my 20s, it was just like this nothing brought me more joy than that. And, being in LA now, this is the first full year in many, many years that I've consistently been dancing
mhm.
week in and week out, unless I'm traveling. And even when I travel, I pack my salsa shoes. And depending on where I am, I will try to find like a salsa. I went to one in Toronto this year. I went to one in Melbourne this year because that culture, salsa culture is everywhere. Nothing brings me more joy, you know? And that comes from my lineage, which salsa in of itself, there's a whole diaspora that feeds into that. But these little inklings, right? These little hunches, like you're saying, you felt into it, like you inquired, you had conversations with your ancestors, you followed your own hunches and where things were pulling
And
you. This is what I'm
intuition,
saying,
yeah.
same thing, right?
Mhm.
We're finding, we're going, why do I keep bumping into this? Where might that be in my lineage? Or, what you said earlier with the synchronicity, the rule of three. I've been this way with rules of three, like even books, right? People are recommending books all the time. I'm like, all
Mhm.
right, if a book crosses my path 3 times in like a
That's it.
short period of time, I'll at least check it out and see what it's about, if it's for me
Yeah.
or if it wants to point me towards something else, right? So, for everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're able to stick it out, even if it made you uncomfortable or if it challenged you. And I hope you'll just I love this inquiry to be like, what's actually mine? What's actually mine to use? What's actually mine that like would resonate more deeply and be more effective? And I love that you put such an emphasis on like the result, the possibility of a better or a higher result when it actually comes from your own lineage in some way, shape, or form. And I
Yeah.
want to say one thing, and if you have a moment and you want to comment on it, please do. Um, I know some people will go, well, what about past lives or what's been my lineage at this point or whatever? But like, we're incarnated now
Mhm.
in this incarnation. So that's really going to take priority, right?
And
It's
yeah, and I agree. I feel like, if we ever sat down and talk about my spiritual journey, I I was down with The Secret for many years.
yeah,
I mean, I did past life regression. I did everything you could think of in this spiritual movement. And I was all about it when I did it, like all in. And I was obsessed. Like I used to be a monk and I used to.
mhm,
But, you know, I'm with you now. I look at what is this incarnation about?
yeah,
What is this incarnation? Because if it's something that's that important, if it was a past life that important that your higher self guides, God at all, angels, team, ancestors, whoever, they want you to know, they'll let you know.
they'll let you know.
But this incarnation is the most important. It takes priority. And like I am on this too, stop resisting things. If something there are two things that you do when you get resistance, what I always do now. Resistance. And I want to make sure that the resistance is not cognitive dissonance. And I want to either allow myself to open to a different idea. Because I notice what I know is true, I don't resist. I don't fight against this. And I told my sisters the other day, we had this conversation. I said, right now, if I said, Elizabeth, your name is not Elizabeth, how many times would you go back and forth with me? Probably none. If any, you say, Shanda, my name is Elizabeth. And I say, yeah, it's not Elizabeth. You may just laugh and you'll walk away. There's
Right.
no resistance. You're not fighting. One of my teachers and mentors said that you only fight things you really don't know. If you knew it to be absolute truth, there is no fight. There is no arguing. There's no, you know, like there's no resistance. So I would explore that. If you have resistance to it, if you really knew this to be true, there would be no fight.
I love this. We'll end the interview on that because it's so powerful. I want people to kind of like take it, walk away with that, right?
Mhm.
So we have all your links because you've been here before. And as always, I'm
Yeah.
going to encourage people to go to your website, check you out, follow you, see what you're up to, follow you on Instagram where you're dropping your truth bombs and stuff. Thank you for being willing to come have the conversation. I'm super
Thank
excited.
you. Thank you.
And I hope if anyone wants to reach out to you about it, that they are kind and respectful. That's me, like kind of like a
Yes.
parent being like, if you feel the need to reach out to Shanda about this, you better be kind and respectful.
Yes.
People are
Please,
usually pretty good
please
about that.
be kind and respectful.
Or she's going to ignore you. She can ignore you.
I do. I don't argue with people on
No,
the internet anymore.
exactly. Don't do
So,
that, especially on the internet.
yeah.
So, all right, Shannon, thank you so much, everyone listening. Thank you. Share this with your friends. Like, have some conversations, do some exploration. This is a good It's a good one to come back and like sift through all the little invitations and inquiries. So we'll see you later.
In the book that you and I've talked about this before is this other law, which is the law of parabda karma. And that's the law that says not every thought we're having is meant to occur. We're all here on a curriculum as souls, learning lessons, growing. There, especially, a soul could have a lesson about you're learning how to let go. You're learning how to get out of the way. You're learning how to accept loss. You're learning how to keep your heart open even when it's hurting. It's
Hmm.
not just life as a shopping mall.